Today, the market is flooded with dozens of various road-legal supercars. However, back in 1986, supercar buyers had only a few options to choose from. Besides a variety of Ferraris, which included the 328, Mondial, 412, and Testarossa, potential buyers were limited to the Aston Martin Vantage Volante and Lagonda, the Lamborghini Countach and Yelpa, the Maserati Biturbo, and the Lotus Esprit. The 328 became many buyers' car of choice, as proven by the massive sales success. In all, well over 7,000 328s were produced from 1986 to 1989, and 30 years on, it remains one of the most beautiful modern Ferraris and potentially one of the most sensible too. The 328 is the last of the 308 series of cars, and it has all the upgrades. So it has the 4-valve engine. They also bumped it from a 3-liter to a 3.2 liter. So 308 is 3.0 liter 8-cylinder, 328 is 3.2 8-cylinder. And it has all those upgrades, the fuel injection, all that to make it a very usable car. It's driver friendly, and it's overall a really nice ride. The thing I enjoy is it's like a modern classic. It's right on that line where basically it's a lot easier to drive than some of the older classics. Some of the older cars like Dinos, you really kind of have to coax them into doing what you want. You have to sometimes even beg with them to do what you want, whereas a 308, it does what you want without too much asking. It's very user friendly. Another thing is it has decent power, 270 horsepower, about 230 foot-pound torque. It goes top speed about 166. So, you know, it's fairly quick, especially for an 80s car. You think of modern supercars, and of course, you know, they'd blow this out of the water, but that's not the point of this car. The point is it's a classic. And you really feel that between the gated shift and then the lack of power steering, which is something I enjoy in a lot of these older cars, especially with something like a 328, because it's not super heavy. So if you get into Daytona and you don't have power steering and you're trying to like parallel park or something, you're gonna have issues. It really sucks. But when you're in something like this, it's not so heavy that you're getting a workout just trying to lug it around at low speeds. You can parallel park, you can drive, you know, slowly and not have an arm workout, but at higher speeds it's really nice because you just feel very connected with the car. There's something about a classic car with no power steering and a manual transmission that you really just can't beat. The 328 is widely popular for a lot of reasons. A, because of its ease of usability, but also because it has that classic Ferrari look without the problems associated with a lot of the classic Ferraris. For instance, the services on this car are quite easy compared to other models. A lot of other Ferraris of this era, you would have to actually drop the entire engine to do the cam belt service. And these cars have belts instead of chains, which means you need to change them it's recommended about 3 to 6 years, depending on how often you use it and all kinds of stuff. But that's kind of the basic rule. And so when you're doing that service, it's nice when, like a car like this, you can do that service in the car and you don't have to remove the entire engine. So if you think about a car like a Testarossa, you have to not only remove the engine, but the entire rear end of the car comes out. And we've had lots of them serviced before, and the service usually ends up being about $20,000. A little more, a little less, depending on what the car needs, but that's kind of the average. And that's a lot of money. Whereas a car like this, you can usually get away with about 5 grand. Because while you're doing the belts, you want to make sure to do anything else that needs done. If you find somebody who has literally just changed belts, I mean, that's nice, but it doesn't do much. You want belts and tensioners at the very least. Plus, if you need to rebuild the water pump, or there's any leaks, or any of the rubber's gotten hard and dry, you want it replaced. So it's a while you're at it service, just get it done and make sure the car is ready for whatever you plan on doing with it next, so you're not constantly chasing little problems. There's a couple things about the 328 that visually, when you look at it, you can tell this car, A, is a 328, not a 308, and B, it's a Euro model, not a US model. So how you can tell that, the big visuals that you can just kind of point at and go, that's, you know what it is. First off is the front bumper. So the front bumper on this car is an integrated color. It's that Prugna color you see on this car, and it matches. Whereas on the 308, they are black rubber, and they're a lot bigger too. They stick out a lot more, even on the Euro versions. So on 308s, the Euro bumpers are slightly more recessed into the car, whereas the US ones are stick out further. But either way, they're black rubber, whereas on the 328, they're all painted to match the car. Another thing you can tell to know it's a Euro model and not a US model is these side markers right here. So if you look at the car, it has this little side marker dot right here, which is a Euro marker. But what they did, they imported this car into the US, and when they did that, they added on these big rectangular ones at the front and the back, making it comply to US DOT standards. So they added those on. So you can visually see both of those markers and know that it was a Euro model imported into the US. Another way you can tell, which is it's not on most 328s, but on this particular car, you can tell that it was delivered new to Germany. And how can I tell that? Well, funny thing is, on the little air inlet on the side right here, they put a grate over it. And on most cars, they don't have a grate. But at some point, sometime in Germany, somebody stuck their arm in there and a driver took off and they went under the wheels. And so it became a law that they had to cover the little vents with a grate. So you look at that and go, it was delivered new to Germany, because that's what they had to do. I love little facts like that, like for instance, yellow headlights are French, stuff like that, where it's kind of fun just being able to look at cars and go, oh, I know this about it without anyone having to tell me. There's a couple other ways that you could tell that it's a Euro model from the exterior. So one of them would be the little light you see in the back window right here. It's an add-on. And basically, when people would import cars from Europe, they had to make them conform to the EPA and DOT. And one of the DOT things, besides the side markers, was the little backup light in the back. That's not exactly a standard US thing in general. That was one shop's way of conforming to the DOT standards. So it's not a light you're going to see just like that on all the cars. It was just how that particular shop got the car compliant. So, it's kind of interesting. You see the different ways people did things. Another thing is this cute little funky radio antenna right here is European, and it's not something you see on a lot of these cars, this exact little design, but I like it. I think it's really cool. I love how this car has kept all these items, these import items. I mean, somebody could have removed that or removed backup light, stuff like that, but they haven't. They've left it like that. And it really shows the car's history throughout the years, which I find really cool. I like seeing that kind of like, you can just look at it and kind of travel back in time with the car and know what happened with it. So another thing on the import, the US cars have a data plate in the door jamb, but the Euro cars didn't have that data plate. So right here in the door jamb right here on US cars is a metal plate riveted in, and it gives the info on the car, the year and month it was built, you know, serial number, all that info. But on this car, because the Euro cars didn't have that, they put this sticker here that shows who imported the car, and then there's another little sticker that says it complies to the EPA. So that's another thing you can look at. You can't see it from the outside, but if you're allowed to, you know, if it's your friend's car and you can open the door and actually take a look at that kind of thing, then you can look at that and get even more information on the car's history, like who imported it, when, that kind of stuff. One of the very important things on 328s to keep an eye out for if you are going to be touching the car or opening the front hood, basically, is the important part. A lot of Ferraris used to have a hood strut where you open it and it kind of like opens and latches, and then you lift it up and you can set it back down and it automatically unlatches itself so you can close it. But on the 328, they have changed the hood strut to where when you open it, it now has a button right here, and you have to actually press the button shut to be able to shut the hood again. And if you don't do that, I have seen people open it, and then to shut it, they will lift up and just kind of push it down. And that hood strut, you have to hit the button so it's locked in place. So when they go to push it down, they actually bend the hood and crack the paint and just screw it all up. And it's not a cheap fix. So, and especially if you have an all original car with original paint, then you really just made a big mistake. So I definitely would keep that in mind if you're somebody who's going to be dealing with these cars at all. And even with some other models, it's just nice to keep in mind to look for that so you don't accidentally make that mistake. Everything in the Ferrari name, at least for this car, has a meaning. Not all cars, but at least this one, it has meaning. So as I mentioned before, 308 stands for the liters and the number of cylinders. And then this one is a GTS, and it means Grand Touring Spider. And Spider just means some sort of convertible. So this one as a Targa is considered a Spider. Now, some cars like the PF Cab, it's a Pininfarina Cabriolet, and Cabriolet also means convertible, just in a different kind of style. So it does get a bit confusing, but basically if you hear a Ferrari called a GTS, you can assume that it's some kind of Spider or some kind of convertible. Same with GTB, Grand Touring Berlinetta, which Berlinetta, coupe, hardtop. So the numbering systems, for the most part, have good meaning. I'm still trying to figure out what GTE in the 250 GTE stands for, because nobody can give me a solid answer on what the E means. And I've heard lots of theories on what it means, but there's not an actual, like, you can look it up and this is what it is. But at least when it comes to GTS and GTB, there are solid answers. Ferrari loves to hide things in their car. Useful things you need, like door handles or, you know, headlight switches, stuff like that. So on this particular car, they have put the door handle, the interior one. The exterior one's easy on this one, but the interior handle, it's not anywhere right here on the door panel. This isn't it, it's not up here. They've actually hidden it right back here where you have to reach back there. And once you know, it's not hard to find. But when you first sit in the car, you're trying to get out and you're looking around kind of going, okay, where is it this time? And because it's flush right up against this, if you just do a quick reach right here, you're not gonna find it. So you actually have to kind of like really feel for it or know where it is, which it's always fun. You know, you get in, at least me in my job, I get in all these various cars and they all have some different form of where they put their door handle. And it's not even different models or makes have the same kind of thing. It's like Porsche can have 10 different spots. Same with Ferrari. Some of them are just pull like strings. Some of them are handles hidden. It's always fun to figure out where the heck the handle is in the car. If you're looking to buy a 328 or pretty much any car, I mean, and this applies whether it's new or old, one of the big things to look for is panel fit. So what I mean is if you walk up to the car you look at the various panels of the car and how they line up on the car. So the hood right here or the door right here, all these gaps, if you take a look at them on this car, all the gaps are really nice. So you look, and this is all kind of the even, like, same size gap throughout, and same on this side, it's all the same kind of size gap. Same with the trunk right here, all along it, they're even gaps. And that means that nobody has hit it and they've had to repair or replace panels, because no matter how hard you try, you really can't, or it's very difficult to get that really good, authentic panel gap on a car. So if you look at the hood of a car and one side is this tiny little gap and one side is huge, then it kind of indicates that the car could have been hit at some point and tweaked a little bit, and now the front hood is not sitting exactly how it should. So that's one thing you can look at with any car to see if there might be any potential damage. Now, it doesn't always mean there was damage. It means, sometimes a hood can come off a car because somebody is, like if they need to remove the rear deck lid in order to get easy access to the trunk, and they put it back on and they're off with the screws a little bit, like, it's just shifted a little, then that can be adjusted. It doesn't mean that the car's been hit, but that's just one of those things you can look for. And if there is bad panel gapping, then you want to take a little deeper look to make sure there was no damage underneath. 328s in general don't have any real known rust issues that you have to look out for. So if you're going to buy one, it's not like there's a specific spot in the car that's known for rusting, like Dino's or some other cars. Now, of course, you do want to look and make sure there's no rust in general, but there's not specific spots that just plague the cars with rust. This car in particular, it has about a little over 39,000 miles, 39,200 miles. And it's just a really nice car. I've had a lot of fun driving it around. And it's been resprayed. The paint on this car is not original. It is the original color. So this color, Prugna, it doesn't show super well on camera. It shows a little different in person, but it's like a metallic purpley brown red, which is really cool. And it's contrasted by the gray interior, which is also original color combination on this car. So it's a very rare color combo and it's very attractive. And the reason I say it's not original paint is just because, it's an older car, and so this paint is a little too shiny to be all original. Plus, you can see some flaws in the paint. There's a couple little fish eyes, a couple little scratches and dings, nothing major. It really presents well, but there's just a couple little things where, being in the business for a while, I do see that it is a respray. But at least it was resprayed in the original color. They didn't color change it, which is always nice, because in the world of Ferraris, there's something about having the original factory color, especially when it's not red, when it's something more unique like this, that is really desirable in these cars. So another thing, if you are looking to buy a 328, one of the pluses of 328s is they're in that kind of magical time period where they're more modern. They have a lot of modern amenities, but without all the issues that come along with modern electronics. So for instance, the engine management system and ECUs in 328s in general are pretty bulletproof. You really don't hear of the ECUs going bad in these cars. They're pretty reliable, especially in terms of Ferrari. So that is definitely a plus, and yet another reason why the 328 has been so popular throughout the years. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, learned a little bit something about the 328s. If you like this video, please subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. We got a lot of fun content coming very soon.